part of what we do is we run health checks. We see a lot of new environments, more than most people would see, just by the nature of what we do as consultants. And one thing that users or one thing that customers aren't usually great at is extended events and query store. We'll talk about both of them and why they're useful, why they're not used so much, and the opportunities for using of each of the environments, each of the features. So, why extended events and query store? So they're really powerful if you know what you're doing and that they exist and how to use them. They're both ultimately diagnostic data. They do very different things, but it's just data for you as a DBA, so that you can make informed decisions on what's going on in your environment. They're both modern tools. Extended Event is the more modern replacement of SQL Server Profiler, effectively, especially the XE Profiler section of it. And Query Store is a 2016 plus feature, and it's very active on Microsoft's roadmap for enhancements. It's all part of their active query tuning, the AI part of the tool in Azure. And they're very powerful tools, and every modern DBA should at least know what they are and what they can do, so that they can take advantage of them. Right, Query Store. Let's start with Query Store. Like I mentioned, this is a SQL Server 2016 plus feature, which is the oldest version of supported SQL Server right now. So I hope you run it. If not, I hope you're thinking about a migration up to a more modern version. It's set at a database level. This feature is not a server-wide feature. It's specific to databases. It is not enabled by default unless you're creating a new database on a 2022 plus instance. So Microsoft decided it's mature enough now that they're going to switch it on by default in 2022. It's basically what it does is it tracks query performance over time, it aggregates it, and shows you statistics over time based upon the parameters that you set for it. It also grabs execution plans and shows you queries if a query has multiple execution plans based upon different parameters or just based upon a recompile of statistics. Then you'll see that aggregated over time and see what's changed. The data in Query Store specifically, is stored in your main data file. So it's within your database file. So you don't have to worry about an external log file. And if you move your server, if you back up and restore elsewhere, Query Store goes with you. So it's really good if you're going to copy it to a test environment, for example. Because it's in your MDF, it persists through restarts as well. So things like the DMVs, the dynamic management views, obviously TempDB, they all get reset when the server restarts. Query Store persists. So if you have a problem that crashes your server, you'll get up to a certain time limit based upon your data flush interval. You'll get that data stored, so you can analyze it afterwards. Okay, that's the basics of what it is. Should I turn it on? Yes, you should. We've seen very few instances where Query Store's being a problem, and you can be careful with settings that you enable. But ultimately, this feature is 9 years old now. It's gone through, 5 versions of SQL Server. So it's mature at this point, and it's something that we would recommend be enabled by default. Okay, so a couple of specific things you can do in Query Store and things you can't do. Query plan forcing. Now, we'll have a look at this in one of the demos later, but basically, for any given query, it gets given a query ID in Query Store. And for that, you can see if it has more than one query plan associated with it. Some queries will you only have one, some you might have dozens. I think the record I've seen is close to 100 different execution plans attached to one query, which is crazy. But what you can do is you can view each of those execution plans, so you can compare them, you can save them off and put them in any tool you like. If you use Central Plan Explorer, for example. But you can also, if you decide that there's one plan or there's one plan that you like over all the rest of them, it always performs well, you can force it. And I'll show you that feature, but that basically says, SQL Server, I want you to use this query plan every time you execute this query. There are a couple of caveats. It's you making the request. There are a few times where it can make a decision not to, but I've had a customer recently where a statistics update caused a trigger to use a bad plan. We found it in Query Store. We forced it to use the plan that it used the previous day. So it's very useful. It's worth noting that query plan will be forced forever, unless somebody goes and unforces it. And there is a way of viewing your list of currently forced plans. So that's it's something you'd want to review going forward. But that's a very nice feature, is the query plan forcing. It's worth noting that a lot of the automatic tuning features in Azure SQL DB take data out of the query store and utilize that. So for those of you not in Azure SQL DB, you can have automatic index creation and deletion. And then you can have there's other automatic features that is currently Azure only. Whether or not they're in 2025 on premises, we're not sure yet. But in Azure, that's where we roll out new features, where Microsoft roll out new features. And we've got some customers in Azure SQL DB, and they take full advantage of these. We've tested them, and they're reliable. So as an aside, I'd recommend we use those if we can. Some of the limitations prior to SQL Server 2022, it's not enabled by default. That's also the case if you upgrade to SQL Server 2022. It won't be enabled. You'll have to go manually enable it. The only way it's on by default is if you create a brand new database on a 2022 instance. Also, in availability groups, currently, because it's part of your MDF, that gets copied over as part of your AG. What that means is that your secondary is read-only. And because of that, Query Store can't capture data on your secondary at the moment. 2022 plus, they're bringing out the feature to enable it on readable secondaries. Oh, sorry, it's already out in 2022. But prior to that, it's not good. It doesn't work on secondaries, unfortunately. If you very likely have different queries running on these secondaries, read-only queries, but they don't get captured prior to 2022. So it's another reason to upgrade.